and OA being of baby angel Geronimo. Baby angel Geronimo is having the doing so many things, but checking the facts and diagnosing and testing the ethics and the morality. We cannot list all of those at once. But in this edition, we are adding topically an apology to the baby kitten What is the contact us number? Who was offensive, stupid, ignorant, and didn't give a fuck? The second one was answered by a female. Now, this is again the first for me, saying something approving about a Murdoch employee. Well, this female was the exact opposite of that stupid moron male one. She was courteous, she was engaged, she was thoughtful, and although the outcome was not fundamentally different from the first call, she made a lot of difference. In that, the conclusion is that on the evidence of her statements and utterances and the manner in which she spoke to the questions, a woman is far more respectful and respectable and worthy of respect. This is world exclusive original report for Rupert Murdoch. Nobody else would have done this today for him. Whoever this woman is deserves to be recognized, and that recognition has to be extrapolated to apply to the rest of the persons who are employed in any capacity within the News UK organization. Now, why Rupert Murdoch's Sunday Times was not distributed across at least London that I can speak about today is something that needs to be investigated. If we multiply the number of outlets where the Sunday Times and the Sun on Sunday, I'm saying that within quotation, were usually distributed, there are three categories. One was the Sun was distributed, but not the Sunday Times. Usually it is the Sun and the Times and the Sun and Sunday and the Sunday Times together. On the Sunday, it is Sunday Times and the Sun on Sunday. Weekdays from Monday to Saturday is the Sun and the Times together. So the News UK needs to investigate who is fucking up the distribution. Because there are two outlets that are mainly kind of usable by me because of the accessibility. One is the big supermarket Tesco, and the other is this big supermarket Sainsbury. Not all Sainsbury's branches got the Sunday Times. Not all the Tesco branches got the Sunday Times. So some Tesco branches got the Sunday Times, but I couldn't reach any of them. I could only reach the Sainsbury's one where I picked up my copy, but I had to make sure that I had to reserve it, insisting on a second phone call I made to Sainsbury's that they should put this aside for me to pick it up because I didn't want to travel because the journeys entailed about 2 hours across London for me to be able to get hold of the Sunday Times. And as I said, additionally, the Sunday Times became additionally more important and significant because of Kate Garraway. And Kate Garraway has been interviewed for the Sunday Times magazine, and this quotation is highlighted. What on earth made me think I could do this? And they say that Kate Garraway reveals the toll of caring for her husband and her own heart's care. Now, this brings so many things into the actual, if you like, focus that I had to look at the contents and I had to look at the display and I had to compare Kate Garraway today with Carol Vorderman yesterday. Now look at this again. These are two women. Carol Vorderman, of course, is a historic first because I approved, for the first time, I approved anyone intervening, and I approve her with the additional clarifier that I did approve, but I did not necessarily mean that I agree with every content of what she said. But the fact that she did make the intervention is the actual main important significant thing. And here, as compared to the tissue display presenters on television, for example, like the Holly Willowy, and the tissue that was called a tissue when she was launched on the Channel 4 tissue breakfast, Kelly Brook. Now, compared to those, the contents of what Kate Garraway is saying, for example, like this one, I worry that I am failing on every front. Now, here is an extremely engaged, responsible, caring, concerned, and thinking person. And she's sharing her thoughts like this one. Work is my equivalent of going for a cocktail. It's therapy. It takes my focus off my family's worries. Now, of course, this is a different dimension because of COVID and all the other extra emergency kind of no notice emergency here and now. I mean, the emergencies by definition present themselves without any warning. And Kate Garraway being on television would not have been expected to be so different as she has turned out because the word bimbo was, of course, conceived, designed, and devised for television faces. One of the worst bimbos is, of course, the Swedish racist criminal, the weather girl, Ulrika Shitbag. The bimbo Ulrika and other bimbos are to be contrasted. with these thinking women like Garaway and Boderman. And of course, Boderman, as Deborah Ross points out in the Times magazine yesterday, Boderman just forges ahead. She doesn't get detained by things. I mean, whether that is a truthful reflection biographically of what Carol Boderman has been through is another matter, but that is one way to sum up the forthright and the confident and the reliable observation that reliable, authentic, and acceptable summary that that Carol Boderman has represented by in the summary made of her conversation with Deborah Ross. To what extent is a dirty digger Rupert Murdoch bothering about the differences, the dimensions, the moral, ethical dimensions among these people, or among people like these that must exist within the News UK operations? And why is it that only Carol Boderman and Kate Garraway, out of thousands of people on television, why these two women should turn out to be making the significant points that I have just noticed? Preston, or Pesto, check that one, is breaking the story this weekend that this racist Alan Sugar, the criminal thief Alan Sugar, has been caught lying at last. He tax to the UK tax collecting agency. Now, here is the Sunday Times on page 5 of the Sunday Times. And the heading is Sugar claimed non resident status to avoid 186 million tax. 186 million pound tax. The PR would have quit the Lords had he known it would stop him saving on the bill. Now, this is the same Sugar that has been massaging the ego and whatever else of the pornographer Small, Karen Brady, the pornographer being David Sullivan. And Dirty digger Rupert Murdoch's scum on Sunday has been giving her a Sunday platform, in addition to other things, to come across as if she is thoughtful, ethical, moral, straightforward, and all the rest of it, which none of this can be verified. Because as the mole for David Sullivan, Karen Brady was undeniably connected with crime, organized crime, because pornography is an organized crime, and she has been too long associated with the organized criminal. The role she has played in acting as an instrument, as a tool for the organized criminal David Sullivan, the role has also been consistent with criminality, defiance of ordinary people, ordinary fans, and the ordinary community. So I needed to see this edition of the Sunday Times in order to say what I've just said. The Sunday Times about Alan Sugar says that Sugar's last recorded vote in the Lords was in 2017. He last took part in a debate the year after. Sugar's wealth, as calculated by the Sunday Times Reach list, is 1.1 billion pounds. So this crook, this criminal, has been parading himself as a moral being for these years. Now, everyone knows my view about the criminal, Ken Lying Still Livingston. But to find that Sugar, who has been religiously venomous and hateful of Ken Lying Still Livingston, allegedly on Ken Lying Still Livingston's unfounded, unfounded anti-Jewish role, to find that this criminal Sugar is a thief, stealing from the state, according to the definition of theft, as still valid and derived from the 1968 Theft Act. I have to go and check the actual Theft Act's definition in order to substantiate what I've just said. I will not do anything less. So, this broadcast is continuing while I go and collect the copy of the text. This is the simplified summary of the criminal law that is accessible. So, the introduction to criminal law, as stated in this one, this is textbook published by Sweet and Maxwell under the banner of West Law, and it appears to be written by Joanne Clough, Adam Jackson, and Natalie Wortley. And they say a criminal offense is a conduct which has been forbidden by the state. Such conduct attracting punishment where the law has been breached. All criminal offenses, except offenses of strict liability, have two distinct parts which must be proved. These are the actus reus and the mens rea. These terms derive from the Latin phrase actus non facit ream nisi mens sit rea, i.e., the act itself does not constitute guilt unless done with a guilty mind. Therefore, both a guilty act, actus reus, and a guilty mind, mens rea, must be proved before a criminal offense has been committed. Think of criminal liability like a maths equation. Without all the elements, the equation cannot be complete. Actus reus plus mens rea equal criminal offense. The actus reus and mens rea may compete. I'll read that again because I misread one word. The actus reus and mens rea may comprise a number of different matters, and these are referred to as the elements of an offense. Thus, for example, in theft, the actus reus requires the appropriation of property belonging to another. Three elements, while the mens rea requires dishonesty and an intention to permanently deprive, two elements. All elements of both the actus reus and the mens rea must be proven to constitute a criminal offense. So I'll return to the text and go into the Theft Act 1968 a bit later. Now, this is the piece in the Sunday Times written by the two known investigative reporters, Gabriel Pogrand and Ed Siddons. They say Lord. I'm not going to call him Lord. Sugar tried to declare himself a non-UK resident for tax purposes in a move that would have allowed him to avoid 186 million payment to HM Revenue and Customs. The billionaire peer intended to pay no UK tax on one of the largest dividends in corporate history, a 390 million pound award he drew from his company in the 2021 to 2022 tax year. A joint investigation by the Sunday Times and the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that Sugar tried to argue he was in fact not based in Britain at the time. Sugar 76 argued he qualified for non-residency, meaning a person who does not live in Britain and spends no more than 90 days here in a year. He had spent months in Australia hosting its version of Celebrity Apprentice. Sugar wanted the authorities to disregard the income earned from Amshold Group, the UK holding company for his property assets and other business ventures, including those formed with winners of his hit BBC reality television show The Apprentice. However, he was required to pay the taxman the entire 186 million bill. Sugar had not realized that as a member of the House of Peers, he was automatically resident in the UK. It is understood that shortly after learning of his predicament, Sugar said he would have quit the House of Peers altogether had he known it stopped him claiming non residency. Now, the details of the actor's rears and the man's rear are all spread throughout this whole article. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? This criminal has been giving moral lectures to the Labour Party, moral lectures to anti racists, and moral lectures to those who oppose colonialism, imperialism, injustice of all kinds. And this shitbag has been given the platform created with the money extracted from the ordinary people, the license fee payers by the BBC. The heartache, the heartache and the sufferings of so many people who have been forced to pay the license fee will take thousands and thousands of pages to detail. And here is the thief. Here is the thief brazenly stealing money that he owes, well, stealing money from the state. And he has the gall to say that he would have resigned if he knew that he had to pay the tax. In 2020, Sugar leveled a critic of tax and writing on Twitter, "It makes no difference where I am in the world. I'm a UK citizen and a taxpayer." Now, that is not a brazen lie, it is a criminally intended brazen lie that warrants its own indictment. Now, what is the Sunday Times kind of sister publication, this common Sunday carrying today under she is a liar and a criminal. and she's the So, what we are looking at in the revelations that are very rare, these revelations are very, very, very rare indeed, because the BBC has been abused by these hundreds of millions of pounds must pay the public license tax, the license fee payers the money back. This must be one of the least of the demands that he must be charged to fulfill, and he must be indicted. He must be indicted for theft already committed, because any investigation into this tip of the iceberg statement about one tax year, any investigation into that, other avoidances, other criminal acts that he has been perpetrating. So, what is the Sunday Times, the rest of the piece saying? Okay, let's go back to the piece where he's quoted as saying in 2020 about a critic who accused him of tax avoidance. An ignorant twat. because he said, as quoted in the piece, it makes no difference where I am in the world. I am a UK citizen and a taxpayer. Now, that should be enough evidence of the gall with which this thief thinks he can lie. When he was saying that, when he was scripting those words, who was around him? Who else was there helping him? Because at that time, whenever he actually scripted that and let's say shared that, whoever it was that he shared that with, he was conscious. He was conscious that he was lying. We'll come back to that. Now, here is the continuing rest of the text of the piece in the Sunday Times. In a statement, Andrew Block, his spokesman, said Lord Sugar is a UK tax resident and he always has been. All his income has been taxed on the basis of his UK residency and is fully paid up. Now that's another liar, isn't it? He did not respond to repeated questions. Now this is the Sunday Times saying that Sugar's so-called spokesperson did not respond to repeated questions relating to Sunday Sugar's attempt to domicile himself somewhere else or his willingness to resign from the House of Lords. The billionaire, a married father of three, was born in London. Let's go back to this fucking thief. The billionaire, a married father of three, was born in, surprise, surprise, London's East End, for fuck's sake, and once sold electrical goods from the back of a van. He made his fortune as founder of Amstrad, an early computer company, and became one of the nation's most recognized business leaders as host of The Apprentice, the show whose US equivalent was fronted by Donald Trump. The latest Sunday Times Rich List calculated Sugar's wealth as 1.1 billion pounds, making Sugar the 165th richest person in Britain. According to Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, the people who collect the tax, those who spend fewer than 91 days in the United Kingdom and within that fewer than 31 days of working are usually deemed non residents. Such people can choose to have certain forms of UK income taxed elsewhere, including dividends, state pensions, and interest payments from banks or building societies. That's capitalist law, of course. For years, Sugar did not draw significant sums of cash from Amshold, of which he is the sole owner and which he runs with his sons, Simon 54 and Daniel 52. He declared nil in dividends in 2017, £600,000 in 2018, and £500,000 in 2019. Following year, he declared nil again. In 2021, however, he paid himself a 390 million dividend, one of the biggest in history, putting him in similar territory to Denise Coates, the Bet365 founder. By declaring himself a non resident, he would have been liable to pay tax on the award in another jurisdiction, probably Australia, where in 2021 he relaunched that country's celebrity apprentice. It is thought that the law that prevented him from assuming the status is the Constitutional Reform and Governance Act, which passed in 2010. David Cameron, who saw then opposition leader, sorry, this is a wrong word I have read, not so. It should be was. So I'll read the whole sentence again. It's thought that the law that prevented him, that is Sugar, from assuming the status is the Constitutional Reform and Government Act, which passed lying for decades. He is the thief that has been lying and stealing for decades. When it was introduced, peers were given a 3-month grace period in which to leave the chamber. Five, including Margaret Thatcher's former advisor, McAlpine, and the architect Foster, stepped down. Ashcroft claimed he had dropped his non dom status, although it has since been reported he did the opposite. It is unknown why Sugar took his 6-month break from the chamber, lasting until mid June last year. He denied it was related to his tax status. Bloch initially blamed COVID. He said he also claimed, I'll read that again. He also claimed Sugar, rightly or wrongly, believed that those who failed to attend for half a year without going on formal leave lose their status as members. There is no such rule. So the whole thing is a pack of lies from a thief and a crook. Now, the first thing that we have to say on the evidence that has been reported is so lying and making false comments about a constitutional rule that doesn't exist. And along with him, and the whole apprentice thing should be scrapped. And the money that the thieves have received, money that belongs to the tax license fee payer, must be returned. We shall, of course, continue to update on this. And going back to the topical update on the essay, Baby Angel Geronimo's essay, these are the people that are actually making decisions about who has the right, who has the right to protection because of their innocence, and who is condemned because of their innocence. Because the harassment that has been aimed at Helen MacDonald, baby angel Geronimo's mom in South Gloucestershire, she has spoken about being felt. She has spoken in 2021 about feeling as if she had been targeted for torture for telling the truth for the beloved baby angel Geronimo, whose innocence, whose best health status should have been celebrated and she should have been lauded. Instead, she had been targeted for harassment, and the baby angel Geronimo has been demonized and defamed and lied about because he is in the best health. If a criminal like Alan Sugar can be allowed to steal money, I mean, over the decades, it should be possible. It cannot be done here while the program is on because it will take a considerable amount of calculating in excess of billions of pounds. Now, going back to the actual dismemberment, the dismemberment of the idea of local councils following the disclosure about the corruption in Birmingham City Council, which has been forced to declare itself bankrupt. This means that the settlement, the creation of the local borough councils and various councils in mid 1960s is exposed now as a sham. And these councils, most of those councils are corrupt. And the councillors, like the councillors in Birmingham, must be indicted, as must the councillors concerned in Croydon be indicted. Similarly, Robin Wales in Newham should be indicted, and the other mayors currently in post should be indicted. And the antics of the elected mayor, so called in post in Tower Hamlets, spending spending millions of pounds in decorating his palatial premises in Whitechapel must be the subject of indictment. So we shall be looking at all of those in further detail on the theme that all the institutions in the United Kingdom, all the institutions, especially and including the judiciary, are not working, are not fit for purpose, and the police do not exist. Because had the police existed, the likes of Alan Sugar would have been actually arrested, prosecuted, and he would have been convicted. None of these things has happened, and the reason why none of these things has happened is because there is no policing. And secondly, those who shield thieves like Alan Sugar, Karan Brady, et al. Are part of a highly complex and highly sophisticated operation that contains a few thousand criminals who regularly steal from the society and rob the ordinary people. And they've been doing this from the institutions like the councils, like the regional councils, and by the UK central government departments. For example, what law is there? What law is there that allows any employee of a local council to tell lies? The answer is an obvious no. But this is a question. What law allows a council employee to tell lies? This question has been put to Sanafias and other Newham councillors about council employees lying. And they have not answered the question. Why? Because they cannot answer the question. Now we shall be continuing updating topically on the factual impact and ramifications of what the DEFRA did to baby angel Geronimo, defaming him, demonizing him, and harassing his mom, Helen MacDonald. And as we have said, the three judges that actually endorsed the lies of DEFRA, the lies against baby angel Geronimo, should be indicted for conspiracy and for conspiracy to undermine the law and to violate the most perfectly healthy baby angel Geronimo and to sabotage the existing legal framework, constitutional legal framework, internationally and nationally. Now, about the kitten that made an entry into the room where this broadcast is coming from in the middle of the night. Now, the reason why I had to let this kitten not stay in the space is because if I didn't do that, I would have to pick him up. And once I pick him up, I would be completely, instantaneously involved with him. That is why I had to let him go. Let him go out of the room, and I didn't go and chase and pick him up. We shall be elaborating on what happened to the kittens in the East End of London, in Brick Lane, in New Road, in Whitechapel, in Bethnal Green, over the last few decades, and what is happening now. So we shall be ending this particular edition, but that is not the end of the look at the Sunday papers, because remember, Kate Garraway's interview is yet to come, which will come in a later edition, not this particular one.